In 1975, off the quiet shores of coastal California, a massive tanker released over 2 million tons of untreated industrial sludge straight into the Pacific Ocean. No headlines. No outrage. Just silence. Locals called it routine waste management. But what no one knew, what no one could have imagined, was that this moment would mark the beginning of a slow-moving disaster. One that wouldn't fully reveal itself for 50 years. The waves kept crashing, the sun kept shining, and the tiny fishing town of Del Vista slept under a secret so dark, even time tried to forget it. But the ocean remembers everything. And now, it's coming back. What really happened beneath the surface? Why did the town's coastline vanish, and why do scientists fear it's just the beginning? Hit like, subscribe, and let's go. In the spring of 1975, Del Vista was the kind of town where windows stayed open at night and no one locked their doors. A sleepy stretch along California's central coast, it thrived on fishing, family, and faith in the sea. Evelyn Harper, 63, had lived here all her life. Every morning, she brewed strong black coffee in her rusted percolator, then walked her dog Lucy down the fog-kissed boardwalk, waving to neighbors who'd been there since Kennedy was president. Her son worked the docks. Her grandson played in tide pools. Life, though simple, was rich in all the ways that mattered. But lately, the fish didn't smell right. A strange, metallic odor hung in the early morning air. And last week, someone spotted dead seabirds tangled in black sludge near the bay. Evelyn didn't say it aloud, but something about the ocean had changed. And it wasn't done changing yet. It started with the crabs. Hundreds of them, washed ashore, lifeless, their shells cracked and blackened like they'd been boiled from the inside. Evelyn noticed them first during her morning walk. They littered the sand like scattered coins, their tiny claws frozen mid-motion. Children poked at them with sticks. Fishermen just stared. By noon, news spread down the docks like wildfire, boats returning half-empty, fish with swollen eyes, slicks of iridescent film floating where the water used to be clear. The local radio blamed it on a natural shift in current temperatures, but no one really believed that. Evelyn stood at the end of the pier, her coffee cooling in her hand, watching the sea breathe slow and heavy. It looked the same, but felt wrong. Deeply wrong. Like something ancient was waking up beneath the surface. And this was only the beginning. By late summer, the ocean stopped whispering. It groaned. Low, rhythmic pulses echoed through the marina at night, rattling the windows of houses closest to shore. Evelyn began waking up at 2:17 a.m. every morning, always the same time, always to silence that felt too still. The waterline had started pulling back in strange patterns, leaving behind streaks of grayish muck that stained everything it touched. The gulls vanished. Even the wind changed, it no longer smelled of salt, but something bitter, almost metallic. At church, people whispered about the crabs. Then the fish. Then the dolphins that washed up 3 at a time, eyes wide open, mouths locked in a scream they never made. Evelyn wrote it all down in a little blue notebook, tucked behind the flour tin. She didn't know why, but some part of her knew, these were warnings. And the ocean wasn't done speaking yet. In the fall of 1980, Evelyn broke her routine. For the first time in decades, she didn't go to morning mass. Instead, she walked down to the docks with her notebook, determined to ask questions no one wanted to hear. That's where she met Dr. Malcolm Reyes, a young marine biologist from UC Santa Cruz, collecting water samples with a team of quiet, serious-looking students. He showed her something small, but terrifying. The sample glowed faintly under UV light, rich in heavy metals and synthetic compounds not found in nature. "It's not runoff," he whispered. "This is industrial waste. Decades old." Evelyn's hands trembled as she remembered that tanker, in '75. No one ever spoke of it again. But now, the timeline didn't lie. What was dumped, was still here. Still spreading. She stared at the sea, realization crashing over her. This wasn't an accident. And it wasn't over. The lab results came back in January 1981, and they confirmed the worst. Levels of mercury, cadmium, and polychlorinated biphenyls in the bay's sediment were not just high. They were off the charts. 10 times beyond the legal threshold. Dr. Reyes called it an ecological time bomb. Evelyn called it a betrayal. The sludge dumped in '75 hadn't dissolved, it had settled, seeped into the sand, into the fish, into the bodies of people who'd eaten from these waters their whole lives. Children with strange rashes. Old men with sudden tremors. And the cancer clinic in Monterey. Overbooked for the first time in years. Evelyn sat alone on her porch that night, her hands clenched tight around the little blue notebook. The sea looked the same, but it had turned against them. Slowly. Quietly. And no one had seen it coming. Except maybe, they had. And chose to look away. By 1985, the ocean had turned against Del Vista in full. The shoreline eroded faster than anyone could explain, homes once 50 feet from the water were now at risk of sliding in. Fishermen abandoned their boats. The beach was fenced off. And still, no state agency stepped in. That's when Evelyn discovered the documents, leaked papers from an anonymous source. The tanker had been under federal contract. The sludge wasn't accidental, it was authorized. Cheaper than safe disposal. Buried under bureaucracy and stamped classified. Dr. Reyes begged her to go public. But the mayor, backed by local developers, called her a liar. Said she was senile. Threatened legal action. Evelyn stood at the town hall meeting, gripping her notebook, staring into the eyes of people she'd known all her life, and saw fear. Not of the truth, but of what it would cost to admit it. Now she had to choose, stay silent, or risk everything to expose it all. The storm hit in 1990. Not just rain, but a surge, a black tide that swallowed the lower docks and ripped through Del Vista's southern blocks. Evelyn watched in horror as the sea invaded her street, pulling mailboxes from the ground, drowning gardens, and collapsing the tiny bait shop where her husband had once worked. But it wasn't just water. The sludge had risen too. Thick, foul, and shimmering like oil. Within days, 2 children were hospitalized with respiratory failure. Dr. Reyes vanished, transferred, they said. Silenced, Evelyn knew. And then came the worst blow, the town voted to sell. Developers promised a new resort, full cleanup, tourism dollars. The vote passed by 2. Betrayed by neighbors, Evelyn packed what little she had left. But before she left, she buried her notebook in a glass jar beneath the pier, her truth, sealed for someone braver, someday. As she walked away, the ocean behind her sighed. And for the first time, paused. It was 2023 when Del Vista returned to the news. A coastal erosion study uncovered something unexpected, deep beneath the sand, near the old pier, a sealed glass jar. Inside, a notebook, faded but legible, filled with dates, names, test results, and Evelyn's neat handwriting. The discovery went viral. Within days, environmental journalists, oceanographers, and activists flooded the area. A new generation began asking the same questions Evelyn once screamed into silence. And this time, they listened. The tanker's name was exposed. Lawsuits reopened. And the old vote to sell. Declared fraudulent. Evelyn never saw it, she passed in 2015, her story forgotten, until now. But her voice, written in blue ink and quiet rage, cracked open 50 years of lies. And as the waves lapped against the shore once again, Del Vista wasn't just a cautionary tale. It became a reckoning. Proof that truth, buried long enough, always finds a way back to the surface. Today, Del Vista is just a name on a map. The town itself, gone. Swallowed by the sea it once trusted. But the waves carry memories. And now, thanks to one woman's quiet defiance, people finally know what was buried beneath the surface. Evelyn Harper never sought attention. She never shouted. But her truth outlived her, and changed everything. Cleanup efforts have begun. Laws are being rewritten. And somewhere, a young girl reads a scanned page of that blue notebook and understands that even small voices can echo through generations. But the ocean still waits. Watching. Remembering. So now the question isn't what happened in Del Vista. The real question is, how many other towns like it are still silent? Still sinking? If you knew your home was next, would you speak up? Or stay quiet, like they did? Hit like, share this story, and tell us in the comments, would you have buried the notebook, or opened it?